here what you guys have. All right, let me get volunteers first, and then we'll go through. Everybody will give us a little something, either on this or the homework. All right, T, read your first sentence.
X and Y are your sex chromosomes.
So X and Y are the sex chromosomes. Okay, good.
So a diploid is a full set of autosomes in a body cell.
Okay, so a diploid number or in a body cell, no, or is a full set of chromosomes in a body cell?
I said autosomes. Because autosomes are the 22 chromosomes that aren't included in the haplogroup.
Okay, so a diploid set includes autosomes. Okay, and I would add sex chromosomes because those two together give you the full set, which is a diploid number of chromosomes.
I mean, I did autosomes.
Yeah. All right, Fatima? Yeah. So two types of chromosomes are autosomes and sex chromosomes, both of which are found in body cells. Okay, then we can throw another word in there. Okay, give me another one. Anybody else? All right, Edwin, give me one. One sentence that includes one of those words or more. You can do it. Start off with sex chromosomes. Where do you look to find sex chromosomes on a karyotype? How'd you know if they're a boy or a girl? Okay, Moses, what do you know? Well, you know more than that. Saying I don't know is you know more than that. So when you're walking around, how did you know those karyotypes were either a boy or a girl? Okay, three's a charm. Damien, tell me one thing. Elijah, you're next. Okay, so found where? Where do you find those? Yeah. Where were they on the karyotype? What pair was it? Where did you look when y'all walked around and looked at the babies? Did we not do that?
23.
Number 23, exactly. The 23rd pair of chromosomes. So did we not do the 6 babies?
We did.
I thought so. All right, Rebecca, give me something that you read. Read it out anyway. All right, so there's 46 chromosomes, I would say, in every body cell. So depending on, and we know that there's 2 of those are sex chromosomes and the rest are autosomes. All right, Josue, anything else? All right, so we're going to start with you. Let's look at the notes. Okay, so everybody can look at your notes. Everybody get a question on that. All right, so pull these out. Okay, so let's start in the center where we said, what are they? What are chromosomes? So tell us, what are chromosomes? This is in your packet. Same packet. I've been in.
This packet is like a part.
What's the one that you had the other day?
Yes. So this one?
Yeah, you never had me that.
It was in the packet that you picked
Yeah,
up.
but remember I got mine, I only had one sheet and the other.
Where'd you put your notes then when we were writing notes? Just grab those. We'll come back to you. All right. So, Julia, what are chromosomes? Yes. All right. So we said that when chromosomes are made, that the double helix form of DNA wraps around some protein. All right. So what is that DNA called? Floricilla. What is that form of DNA that is the double helix form? So, oops, right down here, at the bottom. Right here. The double helix form of DNA.
Is it chromatin?
Yes, chromatin. Okay, so chromatin, and then we said that looks kind of like a hot mess. I mean, it's all kind of tangly looking and it's hard to sort through it. So it has to be able to wrap itself around some proteins. So Norberto, what are those little proteins called that DNA wraps itself around to make a chromosome? And we colored it, probably, it looks like 4 little balls that we colored a color. Right down here. Right down here. Yes, histone proteins. Okay, so William, so then we said they wrap and wrap and wrap, and then they make these chromosomes. So we said there's autosomes and sex chromosomes. What are autosomes? Those are the types of chromosomes. What are the autosomes? What are they? Over here. All right, Amelie, what are the autosomes then? What did you write down? What do you know? Mm-hmm.
Pairs of 1 through 22 for humans.
Yep. So pairs of 1 through 22, which do not determine sex. Right. So, has been not here. All right. So back to Edwin. So if you're looking at a karyotype and you found the sex chromosomes at pair 23, if you see a big one and a small one, would that person be a female or a male? If you have a big, like a large one and then a small one. Girl. Yes, it would. So you're looking for the big and then a small one. So what is the big one and then what's the small one called? Rebecca. X. And Y. Yeah. All right. So Damien, what if you saw someone that had XY there in the 23rd pair? Would that be normal?
Nope.
Nope. So what would you say? What disorder would they have if it's XXY? What do we call that?
Say X1?
Yes.
Alpha?
Yeah. All right, so
He said the what?
Klinefelters. So Fatima, what if someone has, on the 23rd pair, they have an X, but that's it. Don't have any other ones. Turners, right. Okay, so Moses, what would happen if you saw you're going across and everything looks great? There's two chromosomes for everything, but when you get to number 21, you see 3. What disorder would that person have? It is Down syndrome. All right, so how about Savannah? What's the word that means having 3 chromosomes for a pair? There's a word that means having 3.
What do you mean? What's your question?
What word means having 3 chromosomes for a pair, for a number? It's another word for when we said Down syndrome or Patel syndrome. We use, yeah, it's just word trisomy. Yeah, so it's trisomy for whatever number it is, right? Okay, so how about Julia? How would you know if someone had Patel syndrome? How many, where did you write it on your karyotype? All right, so for what number?
For 6.
13. So trisomy 13, having 3 of those instead. All right, guess that's it. Oh no, there's one more word, homologous. Homologous name. Okay, Fatima? Yes, so having the same gene, same size, and it's a pair. So what word means having a full set of chromosomes, like 46 in your body cells? That was one of the new words for Friday. They are considered normal, and then we said that is a blank number of chromosomes. Yeah, so look on here, and it's a chromosome number. So diploid. Okay, so if your sex cells have 23, it's not called diploid. What's the word for that? What is it? Haploid. Okay, so that's what we're going to practice with a little bit to make sure we understand that concept. So, all right, here's one for you. A blue whale sperm has 36 chromosomes. Okay, so think sperm. What kind of cell is a sperm? Is that a body cell or a sex cell?
Sex cell.
Okay, so if it has 36 chromosomes, how many would be in the flipper cell of a blue whale? A flipper cell is not a sperm or an egg, right? It'd be like saying your big toe. So how many chromosomes would be in the flipper cell?
$72.
72. You're exactly right. So 1 n means 1 times whatever the variable is, right? So 1 times 36, 36. But if we say 2 times 36, diploid, you get 32. You're right. So we have to be able to do that and go back and forth. All right. So next is let's go grab a computer, and then we'll go over the answers to the questions that you had in your homework. But we're going to do a quick Kahoot, and you need to do, yeah, you can use your phone. You need that, and who else needs that? Nigel needs that. Let me show y'all what to do, and then y'all can do it while we're playing together. Okay, you need your packet because you're telling what to do. Okay, so at every station there's a karyotype of a kid. Okay, yep. And so what these are the picture of the chromosomes. Okay, so those bullets in the DNA that you guys can model stuff. That's 60 on one cell. So copies its DNA. It has to separate both of these two cells. So you have to package it up
instead of just saying, okay, here's what
These little
this
bushes.
is. Instead of it flat. I'm telling you, the whole list of flat. This came, I mean, I can put it in.
How to get off my good name. Yeah, get first part
So
off.
here's an unfolded. And what you're gonna do, your job is
See
to
what-
has all the papers like this, then it's all new. But it has. It's called. Here's the section on here's that.
Most high school population.
So what you're gonna do, number one, it says, total number of programs. So you're one that's had, you're counting 2, 4, 6, 8 like that. Here, that's all in 46 unless there's.
Everybody played.
Yeah, she's broken. Count it up. And tell me how many total you see.
You're talking to Mike. You're
I'm talking
talking.
about-
All right, let me pull this up.
Already.
Get into the number.
Cause you have a week.
I'm talking to them.
Well, it is.
Does anybody have their chromosome that they wanted to present that didn't present Friday? Also,
Where's Cahoot? I'm sorry. You would have. I would have been sitting out or crawling. I would have caught y'all.
Alright, let's see. Where would you hit?
Spell my name is spelled wrong. Was you ever? Was it most? 25 plus. Whoever did it, done it. Oh, my goodness.
Not like your brain.
I think.
Oh, well, you're already in. You want to The birds are going you're in.
by the time we're done, y'all.
First.
Okay. Ready? Go. One, two, three. All right, the first question, we're batting about 50% the other two classes. is the general term used to describe what causes a mutation. So like radiation and toxic chemicals, and if y'all do better than 50%, you're doing better than the other classes. Nice. Nice.
Why is it working? Keep on loading. Like mine just when the question was up there, it was still loading.
That lag.
Now it just plays.
I don't go back down. It's the same one.
Okay, what does mono mean? What number?
One.
1. So if there's only one chromosome, then that would be a monosome, like Turner's. All right. Okay. Basically, what are mutations called?
I was about to say the words
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
can't.
gonna show you. When the question pops up, it's still gonna be loaded.
All right, we're changing this. Don't answer because we don't know anything about cystic fibrosis yet. I'm gonna skip it. Go next. All right, this is a true or false.
Oh, I know this one. Yeah. Shut up, man. Shoot.
Okay, so ignore this. This is normal. Look right here.
What number is that?
2 from the end.
23 minus.
Oh.
Stay in second.
I don't. Yeah.
Shut up.
Nice. This way's on fire. All right, here we go.
Mine just took it 4 too.
It's got the same question.
Yeah.
It's popped up on my phone and said this network is slow, so you might have to delay.
No.
All right. So if you notice the syndrome,
It's XXY.
yeah, XXY. Okay, so how do you get Turner's?
Can we turn it to me?
This one over. Oh, you have to finish the last one.
I know. Just
So you have to finish. That was your practice. We're on that quiz.
on it.
So finish this last one. For the total, and then I'll grade it for you.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm the first.
And we don't know this one yet, but you
Oh,
can
I
try.
did.
I want to try it because this could hurt me.
The Venn diagram doesn't really help.
I don't want to do it because this could put my grades in. Yeah, just skip it.
No.
I already answered it.
Because people have already answered it, so that's why I can't skip it.
I probably just lost my answer.
I did first.
Yes.
That's not fair.
That's stupid. But was just got in second because of that. That shouldn't count.
All formative.
Dang, how I get that?
It was
All
very-
right, so the girls dominated.
Oh my god.
Nice.
It did. Like actually up in.
Are we gonna play another?
No.
Let's do one throwback,
Yes, yes.
and let's see if y'all remember.
I'm gonna take it serious.
Can I get on this one?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
This is the yeah, this is old. This is like some of the old stuff. Let's see if you remember. About salesman, right?
Oh, Lord. Oh, I'm not.
See who can remember the most.
You got this. Maybe, I don't know.
Man, that's not fair.
What? I'm trying to learn, whoever's the other Savannahs, they're just trying to hope they can get a little bit of your knowledge. Okay, let's roll. The game pin's at the bottom. A lipid bilayer protein. Good. Smart man. Yes, you do. That's why you gotta know it's coming in your exams. Bilayer.
Learned this.
Layer. Yes. 2 layers.
That's not.
All right, remember high to the low, go with the flow. Low to high, you have to use ATP.
Oh, I know what this is.
That could be fart molecules in a room.
What?
It's diffusion. All right, so it's not active because look, high to low, go
But
with
you
the
say you need
flow.
an ATP to do
Yeah,
it.
that's why
I said low to high would need
You
ATP.
said, oh, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in first.
How the heck am I?
Nice. Moses is having an identity crisis back there. All right, hold up. Let's see. It's the blue. The blue is water. So how is the blue moving from high to low? So what do we call the movement of water?
I don't know.
Movement of water is always the same. Yep. Very good. Osmosis. Okay, so remember the potatoes. Okay, so we put ours in salt, but either way,
Would it be the same difference as
yeah, you can substitute salt in with short sugar. It's the same answer. Lost water.
Oh, yeah, I'm on fire.
I'm gonna skip this one.
Honestly, baby.
I got it right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
what is that?
So the red blood cells, what kind of solution were they added to that made them shrink like that, look like raisins?
God save her.
Nice. Okay, so if you put it in cold water, what would end up happening to the cells? We get crunchy again. Game over. Okay, so active, what does it use? It does. Okay, as you take a deep breath, fill your lungs with oxygen. Which way are the gases moving or diffusing? So no one chose a wrong answer. It's just all the answers were right. So all this is correct. So if you have asthma, what happens to your lungs? Your airways. Anybody know who has asthma? Anybody have asthma? So if you start to have an asthma attack, or if you know somebody that has that, those airways become constricted. They get smaller. So it's hard for the gas exchange to take place. That's why they're breathing hard, and it's like you have little wheezies in there. But the steroid puffer actually opens up the space so they can breathe better.
Or if you put honey on the dish, to make it start breathing.
That help? All right, last one. Let's see.
Can't see it.
It's releasing something out. This will be our last one. This one was part of our honors curriculum. One of these words means releasing something out. All right, so we're going to look at that. There we go. We ended up. Good job, Mr. Thornhill. There we go. This way. All right, good. All righty. Put those up, and on your way back, I emptied out a lot of the pockets if you have some markers or something in yours, then that's fine. But you need 5 different colors for sure, markers or color pencils. But please plug those up in the right spot and grab a cord.
You're still here. I'm done with it.
Oh, good. Okay, I can check it for you.
You supposed to run today?
I think if not, soon, it will. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain, but tomorrow it wasn't.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Do you have any more hall passes?
Are these like numbers?
They will be, yeah. All right, so we got to go over, didn't we go over the answers to these on Friday?
Yep.
All right, but then y'all had some of these same questions for homework, right? So let's hit, a lot of these questions are the exact same ones, but flip to this before we write notes in your notebook, and let's just hit those that are new. Or I guess we could go over all of them and just see if, especially for folks that weren't here.
Pretty sure I have it.
All right, all ready?
Stop. Ms. Thornhill, does it work if it's red?
Okay, so number 1. So how do we say all the hereditary material is found? Genes found on chromosomes. You got it. So that's what this was. So last call, was there anybody that needed to present these? That didn't present them on Friday?
What we had to do Friday with them?
You had to tell us the 3 genes and present your
I
chromosome.
didn't present mine actually.
Okay. Because this is already in the computer.
I'll print it to you.
Just get it out so we can go through that. So that's why we did that. All right. So number 2, we said 1 through 22 are what? Autosomes. Yep. Okay. So the type of process this was to make the picture of the chromosomes. Karyotyping. You got it. Okay. And then here are the new ones. So if we make these bigger, because they were very, very, very tiny, it was hard to see. This one, when you look at it, only has 1 chromosome for number 23. So answer was, yeah, Turner's. You got it. Okay. Now the next one though, all these are paired up except the very last one, and there's 3. So X, X, Y are 2 bigs and 1 little. It is Klinefelters. Yep. All right. So we've already done number 6 on the other sheet. We said that was A. Okay. Number 7 was A. It's a guy. Number 8, the disorder that the guy has, 3, is Down syndrome. Okay. So on the back, these questions are a little different. So look at number 8. What do we call this little thing that holds the 2 sisters together?
Centromere.
Okay. So centromere. Yep. All right. Now, Tim, we're skipping because we're going to do that today. So if we go to number 11 and hold on to your answers, let's see if everybody comes up with the same thing. So an egg, is an egg haploid or diploid? Does it have half the chromosomes or does it have a full set?
Full set.
Are your eggs, do they have 46 chromosomes in them or sperm, or do they have 23?
23.
Okay, so that's what they're testing to see if you know what that means. So an egg cell has half. So what you do is you put 1 in right there, okay? So if a plant's egg cell has 1 in, 14, how many would be in an epidermal root cell? Well, first of all, you don't really have to know what epidermal means. That means skin, but root. Isn't the root the part of the body of the plant? Y'all agree? That's like part of the plant, right? The body, it's not a sperm or an egg. So because it's a body cell, it has to be 2 in. So what is the answer? It's 28. So if you chose 28, you're right. Okay. All right. So this next one gets into what we're going to do today. And that is about cells dividing and the chromosomes they have. So if this cell started off with 20 chromosomes, what has to happen to the DNA before the cell can divide? Has to duplicate, it has to copy itself, right? Yeah. So this is what you have to think of. If this is a cell on your knee, okay, and you skint your knee, then in order to replace it and heal, all the cells around it have to copy their DNA, and then they go through the cell cycle and they split. So we won't end up healing with the same type of cells that were there in the beginning. So if it started off with 20, we should get 2 that are 20. So the answer is letter B. Okay.
We finished it.
Yeah. So did anybody get this one right?
Yeah.
This one's hard. I mean, at first I think it's hard. Everybody will understand it once we go back over it today. So, all right, the last question we're doing today is 13. So A is the identical part of a chromosome. So what is that? Chromatid, right. So these are chromatids, and that's the centromere. There's the answer, number 4. Okay. All right. 14 through 17 are questions that that we'll get to after we finish the stuff today. Here's the homework for tonight. It's the next sheet. So you have 2 days to do it. But I won't see. Well, actually, I lied. You only have 1 day to do it because I see y'all tomorrow. Everybody else has 2 days to do it. But you have just this front sheet, so you'll read about it and just find the answers to the questions. Okay, and then you'll label these parts of the cell cycle depending on our notes today, because you'll have the notes that go along with that. Okay. All right. There you go. So that's that. Yes, sir. You want to go ahead and present before we do the notes? Okay. So stick it right under there, and I'll add your name to the stuff. He's going to go ahead and present, so because he wasn't here.
Yeah, you can able to see my color.
Oh, you guys know now.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, because they're way out. There you go.
I did chromosome 9, and it contains 1,400 genes. Those 3 genes are the Tingle disease, which is this one, the chronic myeloid leukemia, which is that one. No, this one right there. And then the malignant melanoma, right here.
Malignant melanoma. Did you say melanoma? So that's a skin cancer.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then with it.
Nice. All right, anybody else? And so this is one of those things, if folks come back and they're like, can I make this up? No, because you've had plenty of time. So y'all know if you go into power school, you already have your first grades. So there are 4 grades, I think, in there already. So check and see this one in there.
I don't think I put my name on mine.
So I graded it as we went. So as long as you presented, then I went on and wrote down your score as you went. So you got 55 out of 50 if you told us what the diseases were, like talked about those. But other than that, y'all got 50 out of 50. All right, nice. Okay, so we are at the 5th unit, unit 5. So it's called GDR. Growth, development,
No, it isn't.
and reproduction.
Yeah, I said that.
So what we want to do is make a note in your notebook about where your first notes for this unit are, okay? Roberto, Elijah, y'all good? All right, turn where you can take some notes. You have a question? All right. Do ask. All right, so we already have chromosome notes in the packet. And that's just for you, so that way when you're going back and you're like, wait a second, I thought we had something else on here. We did, so it's in that circle map. So just make that note so you'll know that this whole thing goes together, okay? So GDR, growth, development, reproduction. Okay, so what we're gonna start is look at a cell's life cycle. The life of a cell. Okay, the cell cycle. So when y'all think of your life cycle, where does it start? Because that's part of something. Y'all talk about life cycles like butterflies and frogs and probably, yeah, I mean, you talked about those different stages that they go through in their lifetime. So really, when did yours truly start? Your life cycle. Could be. If you talk about like from the very, very, very beginning.
When your daddy was started making sperm cells.
But that wasn't you yet. So it has to be your life cycle by, I guess, biological terms, really started when you were born. Because you were an independent being when you were born. You were your own organism. But I guess in utero, you started right when you were a zygote, you know, and you went through these stages of development. But in terms of general life cycles, they say what starts with birth. Okay, so the birth, in this case, we're going to be talking about cells, but in general, when we talk about life cycles, it would be birth, and then after birth, what did you start doing? And you were already doing this inside your mom's uterus. Growing, and what else that goes along with the growth? What was the change in form? Growth is just getting bigger, add more cells to your body. Huh? Yeah. So you're growing and developing, and in here, you became sexually mature. Now, it doesn't mean that you are mentally mature or emotionally mature, but you are sexually mature. So at that point, you could choose to reproduce.
Oh.
Okay? So you can choose to reproduce. So what I mean by that is some folks become sexually mature and they're still growing. And that just means that the beginning of a period for a female, once puberty starts and you start to develop and release eggs each month, or an egg each month, one starts to mature and you release it. It doesn't mean that you're ready to have a baby. It doesn't mean you probably should have a baby, but your body actually says it can. And for guys, you start to produce viable sperm. So you start going through that, and then you can choose whether or not when you're ready to have offspring. Sometimes, unfortunately, it happens when people aren't ready. But there may be a choice that you're just like, I don't want to have kids. So, you know, humans are a little different where this is, you know, kind of comes in. With other organisms, this is their goal. Their goal is to pass on their genes because that's a way to continue their species, and they compete for the opportunity sometimes. So it's not going to be perverse. It's not going to be. It might not be the most comfortable topic to talk about, but it's not meant to be gross. It's just life. So that's how we pass on our genes. And then at the end of this, there's death. You die. So that's part of life, and that's the end of your life cycle. Now, your lifespan means how long does it take from birth to death. So when you hear like, what is the species average lifespan? It just means that it takes like this number of years on average for a person to live. For some species, it's hundreds of years. For ours, it's not so long. If you were born a male or female in Kenya, then your lifespan would be way shorter than what it is being born in our country or a neighboring country near us, okay? But if you were born in Africa, you know, your lifespan might be, 42 years old? Wow. Because there's several reasons for that. So everything from the lack of sanitation and health care and civil unrest, because our average lifespan is every baby that only lives to be 15 minutes long to every person who lives to be 105. You have to take every one of those and you have to average it up. So it kind of throws off your data a little bit. What, Damien? What, Damien? Yes, you did. What did you say? If you find that fountain of youth, I mean, there's a gene, you know, we have an aging gene and it cuts on when you're born. And so you already start to experience that. But what if we could alter that and you could live longer, you know? Yeah.
Is it true, like, there are some people that say that is it true that you start dying?
Wait, hold on. Roberta, hold up. What'd you say one more time?
People say that you start dying when you're born. Is that true?
You don't really, no, the gene cuts on, you know, that you're maturing but there's ways as you get older, your DNA becomes damaged by different things. And what it is the ends of the chromosomes get damaged. So as they get damaged, then that's how you age faster. You have to start to have worse problems. So things like we said, there are mutagens. Like, what are some of the things we said that causes mutations? Like lifestyle things. Like what can cause? All right, so radiation. What else? What habits?
Cigarettes.
Yes.
Yeah. Hormones.
Certainly.
Hormones.
Different hormones that aren't, you get extra hormones. All of that can, they can all damage that DNA that ages you quicker. So, all right, so why that even comes into play is we're talking about your individual cells, and they all have different life cycles. Some are going to be replaced pretty fast, and others are not going to be replaced at all. I mean, once they die, you never get them back. So which cells in your body do you think you probably have to replace pretty often? Skin. What other ones are kind of like skin that you might lose and you have to replace?
Hair cells.
Yeah, the follicles of your hair. What else would you lose a lot?
Oh.
Okay.
Why would y'all lose that? Like, what y'all been doing? Right.
I mean, not lose a lot, like just a little bit.
If we weren't live, I'd make a comment. But anyway, so we have skin cells, we have hair cells. Have you ever wondered when someone takes chemo, why they lose their hair?
Yeah.
Does it kill their hair follicles, like their hair cells?
It kills any cells that reproduce really fast. So that's why people lose, like they may get mouth sores because, you know, the lining of your mouth and your digestive tract, because food and all this stuff is scratchy and, you know, you lose cells all the time. So it causes you maybe to get mouth sores, lose your hair, so any cells that reproduce really fast. The chemo is just going to attack any of those cells. So that's why. Because it does, it can cause, it does, and you just don't really realize. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. So if you lose brain cells and you've stopped growing, do you think you get them back?
Nope.
That's why people can have permanent brain damage and they can't heal that part of their brain. So it's forever. And same thing is true if you fall and someone breaks their neck and you totally are paralyzed from the waist, even from the neck down, if you're quadriplegic or like from the waist down, it doesn't heal back, so then you can't walk again. So it's because those cells are forever damaged, and you can't heal them. So it kind of stinks. You can't ever make those kind of cells anymore. Okay, that's where stem cells hopefully will help. All right, so when we draw this cell cycle, you have to have enough space in the top, at the bottom, and on the sides. But you also have to make it big enough so you can write inside of it. Okay,
So turn my paper like this way.
yeah, you just have to have enough space. I don't want you trying to like squeeze everything into a small space. All right, so this is the cell cycle. And it doesn't matter what color you use for any of these parts. But we're going to draw first, just with my pencil or a pen, I would just draw the pie graph. We're going to show it as a pie graph kind of cycle. So let's see.
So make that big.
Yeah. And then what we're going to do is do a skinnier piece here. And then we're going to divide these into bigger ones. Okay, like that. So we're going to say that, you tripped and fell and you left part of your skin on the pavement. And so we're going to start off, we're going to draw a cell on the outside that would be one of these skin cells that's going through mitosis, cell division, so it can heal your knee and replace the skin that you lost. Now we know that if it's a really deep cut, what can you form on the outside? You form a scab, and then eventually
Scar.
it might be a scar if it's a really deep, really larger damaged place. But for the most part, we're just going to say it's just like a regular kind of skinned up knee that you have. So right here, we're going to draw a cell, and in the middle, in that nucleus, how many chromosomes do we have in each of our body cells?
46.
46. But is that diploid or haploid? Don't say anything, Savannah.
I know what it is.
Right, so it's not half, so it has to be. So we're going to put 2 in. Okay, so 2 in means haploid, full set of chromosomes. So this is going to be one of your skin cells. Get rid of it. A human skin cell. Okay, so what we're going to do is say it was just made, or it's one of those that's already there on your knee, and it's going to divide to try to heal your knee. Okay, this first life cycle is going to go in, or first part of the life cycle is called G1 or gap 1. So G is for growth. So it's going to grow. So if the cell's growing, what is the jelly guts inside the cell called?
Cytoplasm.
Right. So the cytoplasm's getting bigger. So it's just like you blowing up a balloon. If you blow up the balloon and add air to it, what's going to get bigger?
The blue.
So what would the outside of that balloon be to a cell, like one of our cells? Cell membrane, right. Okay, so you have the cell membrane, and this is going to be true for other cells too, but we're going to picture just ours. So it's getting bigger, the inside guts are getting bigger because the organelles doubled. So if you had 10 mitochondria, you now have 20. For rough ER, now you have 8. So more ribosomes, you're going to have extra. So organelles double. And protein synthesis occurs. Okay, so proteins are made. So y'all remember DNA to RNA to protein, that's when it happens in a cell. So it doesn't happen at all times, it just happens during this first phase. So after all of that's done, we find out that we have a checkpoint. Cell has a way to say, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. You can advance to the next part. Okay, so we're going to draw this same cell. We're going to make it bigger because it grew. Now, did anything happen to the DNA? Did we say up here?
No.
So it stays the same. So we're just going to draw a bigger cell that has the same DNA. All bigger, 46 to N. Just more guts. All right, if it meets the prerequisites, it's going to go on to the next one. So choose a color. And that's called S. Okay. All right, so this is where DNA doubles, DNA replication. So if the DNA doubles, now what are we going to have at the end of this phase, or this part of the cycle?
It's gonna be.
How many chromosomes will be inside of that nucleus? 90, 92, double. So 92, so would that be 2? It won't be 2N anymore. What's it going to be?
4 and 4.
4. So that's all we're going to do. We have to draw the exact same size cell over here. We have to add 92 instead. So it's a checkpoint. The DNA doubled. Try to draw it the same. 92 4N. So now it's got extra cytoplasm, it's got extra organelles, it's got extra protein, DNA. It's got to grow a little bit more. And once it grows to its full capacity, it's either going to explode or it's going to divide in half. Okay? So if it meets the prerequisite, then it can go on. So now here's the third stage before it can divide. And this is called G2. And this is just more growth. Preparing for division. Now, as y'all take the notes down, you're going to have to be able to match up the stage with the event. You have to be able to tell me and arrange the events in the right order. That's the kind of quiz you're going to have coming up. So I think it's Thursday is when we do it. Let's see. Tomorrow I don't see you. Yes, Thursday. So it's on the chromosomes and it's on the cell cycle. And that's the kind of thing. So the events in the right order is what you have to know. All right. So there is going to be one more. But G1, S, and G2 are all called interphase. Okay. So it's the biggest amount of time. So it spends more time not dividing at all. So we've got this here. That part right there is interphase.
That part right there is the word.
Yep. Interphase. So if we ask you, a cell spends majority of its time dividing or an interphase not dividing, what are you going to say?
What's the question?
Yeah, what's the question?
So if a cell just spends more time dividing or not dividing, just getting ready to divide.
Not divided.
Right. So it's going to spend way more time here. So, are you good? Yeah. You having fun? Okay. All right. M. So M is mitotic phase. I just don't have enough room to write it. So this is cell division. Okay, so before the cell can divide, it's gotten a lot bigger and it's getting ready to pop. Let me move that back down. It's like gargantuan.
What happens if it pops?
I'm sure some do. It's called apoptosis. And some of them commit suicide. They'll do it if they're abnormal sometimes. So if they feel like the cell is abnormal, then it can do that. So here's the cell and it's getting ready to divide. So this last one is going to be divided into one bigger piece and one smaller piece like this, okay? So make one little slither and one bigger part. This is called mitosis. So that's going to be the cell division that's going to make your body cells for growth and development and healing, okay?
We done now?
Just about. We're going to draw our picture down below. All right, so when it hits the end of mitosis, it's going to look like this. So how many chromosomes will be in each nucleus?
46.
46.
Oh, so then it splits.
But that's only at the end of mitosis, okay? So the last little part is what pinches off the cytoplasm and totally separates the two. And that's cytokinesis. So cyto, and I'll write it out here so you can see it, kinesis. To give you 2 of what you started with. To 10. So you end up getting 2 of the same thing you started with. So that question on the multiple choice questions about the 20, and then DNA doubles, and you get 2 20s. That's why. You start off with 20, DNA doubled, and then it split, and you get 2 of the same thing. Okay. All right. You got it? Yes, no? People who care to get it, gotten it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll put mitosis and cytokinesis. I'm gonna just put it over here. Like that. So M is divided into these 2 things. So which of these is the division of the nucleus? Which one divided the nucleus?
Mitosis.
Yeah. So division of nucleus. And what's inside of it? The nucleus, the chromosomes, all that.
Yeah.
This one is the division of the cytoplasm. And that tells you what the name cytokinesis. Okay, so for all the females in here that have stopped growing, your brains aren't growing anymore. You're not adding more nerves. I mean, you're done. You're not adding muscle cells. For the guys in here that are still growing, then you still have some brain. Your brains may still be growing a little bit, but probably your brain's reached its capacity, but you still may be growing some nerves and some muscle cells. This may not be true for you. But for everybody that's done growing, this is what happens. If this cell was not a skin cell, and let's say it's one of your nerve cells, it gets kicked out. Uh-oh, go back. It gets kicked out in what's called G0. That's why your cells, those cells do not divide anymore. The nerves and muscle cells. So nerve and muscle cells get stuck here. And they don't go through the cell cycle, so you can't make more of them. You're done with all the ones that you're going to have. So what happens when somebody lifts weights? What happens to your muscle cells?
They expand.
Do you know what? They expand. They don't actually divide. So all they do is, it's like blowing up a balloon. You get stronger and get stronger.
They don't pop?
But they just get stronger. And so then if you stop lifting weights, what happens to your muscles?
They shrink.
Go back down. So that's why there's the argument for lifting weights to maintain your muscle mass, because if you stop, you get really, you get atrophy, you shrink. Have you ever known anybody to break their arm or have like a cast before?
No.
Yeah.
And like afterwards, they take the cast off. What does their arm look like, or their foot,
Or
or
head. And it stank.
all that bacteria gets in there? But that's what happens. The muscles just go whoop, and they get real atrophy because you're not using them anymore. and then you have to build it back up. So, all right, so that is the sales cycle as far as that goes. All right, so your homework was this one sheet, right? And it's going to go back over the sales cycle. All right, and so we're down to board game. Yeah, that's 5 minutes.
Before we do that,
Do it.
I have a question.
When it, you have to see it, because I gotta show you.
All right, let's see. Nope, not yet. All right, so I'm going to drop it back up there. Okay, and you're going to move back up All right, y'all, over there. No, actually, yeah. Roberta, back over there. Actually, y'all three. Y'all three. Y'all three. Y'all three. He said y'all get out, have a seat. Y'all three. Yes, this is our closing. All right.
just walking out, you.
Wait, what room am I in?